Welcome to Camera Shake Podcast, episode 97, the podcast where we talk about photography, videography, and everything that's got anything to do with any of that. And in today's episode, this is a true first time for us on the Camera Shake Podcast, because not only...
Sorry, did we distract you? Oh, we're not stopping now. You better carry on, because I'm not cutting this.
Let's see what we're done.
We're in it now.
No, we're not cutting. No, we're staying.
Anyway, welcome to Camera Shake Podcast.
No. We've just told you we're not cutting.
What were we thinking when we thought it'd be a good idea to have a guest live on the show?
I don't know. Were we drunk?
You should have picked
Another
guest. One that Nick wasn't going to flirt with.
Yay! So, in today's special episode, this is truly a first, because usually, you're probably used to seeing Nick and myself, on the podcast. But today we have a special guest live in the studio with us, and it's none other than Mr. Dave Williams.
Hey, hang on. I hear no round of applause. I was expecting.
I'll put it in later.
Yeah, I'll put it in post.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, that with the canned laughter track.
Just make it really bad. Make it really bad.
Dave,
I am.
It's really good to have you on the show. We thought about it, obviously. The last time we've seen you on the show was back in August.
Yep, in Wales.
Wales,
where we camped.
Do you
remember?
I've blocked it out.
It was all very camp, wasn't it? Really?
I think I was thinking more along the lines of Nick sleeping on a rock in the middle of the woods in Wales, with obviously Bigfoot roaming free.
Obviously.
And it being his first ever camping experience.
That's very true. And waking up in the morning and Kay saying, "Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's pretty normal." I said, "That's not normal. There's nothing normal about what just happened last night." And I'm only talking about what I slept on. And
that made it worse.
It was. And it turns out after the tent goes down, Kay goes, "Oh yeah, look at that! What you're sleeping on? You're sleeping on a massive rock."
Yeah.
And you had the nice lush green grass.
Yeah. So the tent was pitched halfway across a trail. And whilst I was on the grassy side of the trail, you were like on the
trail
rock,
side of the trail.
Yeah, on the boulders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
was
fun.
good though. It was good.
It was great. And today you are the meat between
the camera shake sandwich.
Yeah.
Feels good. Feels good.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good to have you back on the show, but it's also, of course, good to have you back in the country.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I'm back in the country, and I was not meant to be back in the country.
Yeah.
No.
I was supposed to be somewhere around Turkey about now.
But before we get there, let's dial back a little while, because the last time you were on the show, you were actually preparing for your adventure.
Yeah. So I was testing out the van that I built or kitted out, making sure everything was how I wanted and needed it to be in order to work as an office and a home on wheels whilst I traveled the world. So yeah, that was where we left it here on your podcast.
So for those of you who haven't listened to the previous episodes with Dave on, so you're a travel photographer.
Yes.
And you literally travel the world,
and take photos
in a van.
Yeah. So travel photography, travel writing, photography education. It's sort of a multifaceted job that I do. But yeah, I can be on the road, and I enjoy being on the road, so I am on the road. So I make sure I travel whilst I'm working and getting awesome views, taking photos and making videos of all the places I go to. YouTube is something that I've started to dive into. I'm on episode 21 now. Can you believe it? Of Due North.
Yeah.
And so it's great fun. To be honest, it's great fun being me. But this isn't going to go on forever. It's definitely got a shelf life. But at the moment, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time while I figure out where I want to be, when I settle back into normal life. It's great. It's really good fun.
I want to know what your favourite view ended up being from the van. Not outside the van.
Favourite view from the van. Top of a mountain. I can't remember the name of the mountain. This is bad.
But you must have been naked and cross-legged.
Playing ukulele at the time.
So So I'm just going to ignore that happened. So top of a mountain in the Faroe Islands, on the island of Skervoy, there was this mountain. I went up it a few times. It was so treacherous. This is November, winter in the mid-Atlantic, North Atlantic. And so there was snow. The road was icy. It's not a maintained road because it just goes up to a satellite station thing on the top of this mountain. But yeah, up there, absolutely cut off, isolated. 360-degree view. Fjords, mountains, everything. Epic. So that's from being in the van and having that to look at. That was pretty killer.
So you built your van out to withstand literally Arctic climates, because that was the whole point of your adventure, right?
Yeah, because it was damn cold.
Yeah.
I got down to minus 40 degrees. And you don't need to convert that from Celsius to Fahrenheit, because that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point that the two temperature scales meet, minus 40.
And of course, when we were in Wales last time, we did a full sort of walkthrough of the van. If you want to have a look at that, I'll put the link up here for you. For those of you listening on audio, just dive back into the episodes and and go back to the coffee firmware episode.
I think it's going to be just out of shot though. It's there. It's there.
So you build up this van, with everything that you needed to basically
survive. Basically, yeah, because when you're in those sorts of temperatures and you're that isolated, like you are in the Arctic and some of these places in Iceland and literally in the middle of nowhere, if it gets too cold, you die. It's really that simple, that straightforward.
And that's not.
And
on
so
your
I
list.
had to. No, it's not.
Okay.
So I had to make sure that I was ready for anything to happen. And there was one time in Finland where it got too cold for the van. And I had to take the van into a workshop, into a garage mechanic, and just say, look, can I just put the van in there for like 6 hours? Yeah. To warm it up, thaw it out, because it was frozen. The fuel lines were freezing. The fuel filter, because so diesel gels up when it gets too cold. It turns like gel, even when it has additives that stop it from freezing. And then when that gelled up diesel goes through the system, it screws with the fuel filter. It doesn't ignite anyway because it's diesel, but it doesn't burn like it's supposed to. And so you have all these problems. And so, and also the heater that I have in the back of the van runs on diesel. So the same thing happens in there. So it got so cold for such a long period of time in Finnish Lapland that I had to take it into a garage just for a few hours to warm it back up, to defrost the van. It was that cold. And this is with everything that I'd already done. The oil, all the fluids in the engine were all rated to Arctic conditions. Obviously, I'm using just pure fluids, no diluted fluids, because the water would have changed things quite dramatically. And all the way around, I've got insulation, 50 millimeters worth of insulation, and thermal blinds, thermal curtains. Everything is on my side when it comes to protecting myself from the cold. It was just that cold. I had to get rid of the van for 6 hours to warm it back up.
See, I never use antifreeze in my windscreen wiping fluid. I usually just use dishwasher liquid. That wouldn't work there.
No. It would. I had.
Is that because you're cheap?
I had 6 weeks where I didn't have the ability to clean my windscreen.
Right.
Wow.
Because it was just frozen. All the lines were frozen. And then in that same 6 weeks, I also didn't turn the heater off. So the diesel heater that heats up the back of the van, that was running constantly for 6 weeks, day and night.
What would that cost you in today's diesel prices?
Can you believe I saw diesel at $1.73 a litre, which is something around, for international people, it was something around $12 to $13 per gallon for that today. That's crazy.
Is that gonna have an impact on your future travel plans?
Better not. I hope not. If it stays around there, no. It's going to have a bit of a bearing, but no. Essentially, no. But if it goes way up, imagine it passes £2 a litre.
Probably will.
It probably will, let's be honest. Then, yeah, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. We had the first petrol riots when it hit 70p. years ago. If you remember that.
I wasn't old enough for that, but yeah.
I remember when I passed my driving test, it was like 75 to 80p a litre.
Hmm.
And then when it got to like 90p, crazy. Now it's double.
So when I first moved to the UK in the mid 90s, 96 or something, it was literally like 50 around the 50p mark or something like that. I remember going to the gas station, like putting in a $5 and that'd be fine. Now, like you barely get off the forecourt.
Yeah.
With £5 of gas in your car.
The thing is, I've just been to the most expensive places in the world for diesel. So Iceland, Norway, here are the top 3 most expensive places for diesel. And even so, with everything that's going on, we've surpassed all of those high record prices. It's crazy. I'll tell you what, though, the Faroe Islands, in the remote middle of nowhere Faroe Islands, you'd think the fuel would be really expensive. That was the cheapest place.
Didn't they invent diesel or something?
Did they invent diesel?
I mean, what I'm saying is they're making their own, like...
No, they no, like biodiesel or something.
No.
That would be cool. I wonder if I can power the van on chip fat. Do you remember?
Way.
That was a thing.
That was a
wasn't it?
thing, yeah. That was absolutely a
It's
thing.
very Back to the Future.
Not very good for your diet, of course.
It's probably no good for my diesel heater, which is off the same tank. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, so you set off in November?
November the 9th?
Right. And
8th. November the 8th, I got on the Eurotunnel.
then and then you literally did a tour, like you went from the UK to Denmark.
Yeah, so I crossed the Channel Tunnel into France, turned left, Belgium, Netherlands, stayed in the Netherlands for the night, shot the windmills in the morning.
Oh, I remember that
near Rotterdam.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Dutch tilt, in Holland.
Don't know what you mean.
Dutch
Then drove up through Germany, Denmark, got a ferry over to the Faroe Islands. I was there for about 8 days. Got another ferry to Iceland. By the way, just if you were considering it, I would not recommend getting a ferry over the Atlantic for 24 hours at a time in winter. I had all the intentions of getting so much work done on my laptop on the ferry. And then it was just like this the whole way. And it doesn't, I wasn't sick or anything, but it was just so nauseating and so uncomfortable that I just couldn't focus on my laptop. So I sat there with Netflix and sleeping each time. Anyway, over to Iceland, 2 weeks, back to Denmark, another ferry to Norway, drove into Sweden. I got pulled over in Norway, actually, that night. They were like, what are you doing? Driving. No one else was driving. Where are you driving? It was like 2 a.m. I was like, I'm just trying to get as far north as I can while I'm still awake. So they pulled me over. They just couldn't get their head around, like, why are you driving? It's dark. It's nighttime. That's how different it is over there, over here. Like nothing really stops in the UK, does it?
Because there's
Unless you
nighttime
live
for
in
6
the middle of
months,
nowhere. But unless you live in the middle of nowhere in a little village, life just carries on constantly 24/7, especially in the big cities.
Yeah.
Whereas over there, it's back to like the 80s and 90s, where before all of that really, really started to happen. It's a better way of life by far. When you're getting pulled over because they're wondering why you're driving, that's good. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, as a former copper, that's
then exactly. You have a chat and off you go. So anyway, and then drove into Sweden, up to Kiruna, Swedish Lapland. Basically, I'm just going to quickly summarize the whole thing for you. Why not? While we're here, Swedish Lapland, and then into Finnish Lapland, up towards Kilpisjärvi, which is on the border with Norway. Crossed into Norway. By the way, all of these borders that I'm crossing, one COVID check so far, which was entering Iceland. Everything else, into Norway, and then up to the Lofoten Islands. Was there around Christmas, and then Senja back down to Denmark again. So down through Finland, Sweden into Denmark. Flew over to Iceland. Spent 5 or 6 days there. And then we get to the bit where I'm sure you've got questions. I'm sure you've got questions already anyway, but the bit about why I'm back in the UK comes next, where I drove down to Croatia and then felt
Oh,
uncomfortable.
that's the same country that's been invaded, right?
According to Diane Abbott,
Yeah.
When those tanks rolled into Croatia.
Oh my God, we were an embarrassment of a country.
Well, I don't know, Sleepy Joe.
All right.
He thinks
we're an
they've
embarrassment
invaded,
of a
He
country.
thinks they've invaded Iran. But
Yeah.
anyway. So I ended up driving around Eastern Europe, feeling a little bit out of place in a green van, noticing a lot of military movement around me, and hearing all the news about what was going on. And so I came back, essentially. But there was more to it than that. But anyway, I feel like I'm just describing a route to you. So
We like the route. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many questions that that you could ask. I mean, first of all, I remember us talking about your travel plans back in August, and then of course they started to change, quite a bit. Were those changes like spontaneous, or did you sort of alter your planning beforehand?
The first bit went entirely to plan, and then when I crossed into Norway, I was originally going to spend a lot more time in the south of Norway, but I wanted to get up to the top to see some friends, so I just did.
Yeah,
I just went
because you can.
Yeah, so I went up, saw Oddbetter, met a few new friends as well. Spent a load of time chasing the Northern Lights. There was loads of Northern Lights in my videos, I'm sure you saw. So I got loads of cool photos as well. But yeah, no, the plan was quite dynamic anyway, because the plan originally involved going to Ukraine.
Right.
So obviously that didn't happen. With Russell from Adobe flying me over to Iceland, that changed the plan as well. That changed the route. It was all dictated by what I wanted to do, weighed up against what was going to make me money, what was going to give me good content. So obviously it is at the end of however you look at it, at the end of the day, it's a business. I need to make the right kind of content that's going to sell, if it's not going to sell, that's going to point people to places where I'll make money elsewhere, be it through writing blog posts or whatever, whilst still trying to build a YouTube channel, because hopefully that will be another monetization option.
Well, see, I mean, this is actually just one of the probably one of the most common questions that I've gotten. Whenever I talk about what you do, is how do you finance that? Like, how do you make money? How do you survive financially when you're on a trip like that? And you've just given us a really good example of how that.
Yeah, I mean, everything I do is,
but I don't do that.
Everything I do is based around it being a business, about making money. So, because obviously I need to pay the bills. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of bills to pay.
Yeah.
I have to pay my fuel. I have to pay my phone bills and my internet and all that sort of stuff. And obviously I need to save some money because there is a bigger plan at the end of all of this. So it is about making money, but all I'm doing is I'm making money in a way that makes me happy now versus a way that just literally paid the bills. In my past life, I was working to pay bills and I was paying bills to go to work. You know what I mean? It was just a big loop, and it's not good for the soul. It's just the way that life is. And generally people just accept that that's the way that life is. You go and you get a good job, and so you can afford a big house, and you're not happy because in order to pay for your big house, you're going to work all the time, but you're not happy at work. Anyway, that's a whole different subject. So now I'm making the money that I need in order to live and save some, and I'm very, very, very happy doing it. I can go more or less where I want and see what I want to see. I dictate the schedule, and I just work around all the contracts that I have, really. So certain magazines and tutorials that need doing and websites that I write for, that's where it's focused around. Everything else, all the other sources of income can come off the back of where I am and what I'm doing.
Now you've been through, a few months of doing what you've spent a long time planning. How have your expectations been met?
Let me tell you, first off, that all these sexy pictures of van life you see, where they're parked over, the beach or over a like Horseshoe Bend or the Grand Canyon, and there's all these like neutral and light tones on all the stuff in their perfectly tidy van. Well, you were in the van earlier. It's not.
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's clearly lived in. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Smelt lived in. I'm joking.
So the van life dream that people see on social media is not real at all. And if you look carefully across YouTube, you'll find a lot of people admitting it and showing videos of what it's really like and how untidy the van is. And even then, they've tidied the van up to make it untidy for the video. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, van life is not like that. Oh, I saw a meme the other day actually, and it was the top half of the picture was 1970, and it was something like, if you don't work hard, you'll end up living in a van down by the river. And then the bottom half was 2022. It said, if you want to live down by the river in a van, it's going to cost you this, that, and that, and 220 grand for a van and this sort of stuff. Like how everything's changed. Living in a van is the dream now versus like the punishment or a measure of failure 30, 40, 50 years ago. So yeah, and I said earlier about bills to pay. There is no bills to pay because my electric that charges my phone and my camera batteries and my laptop comes from the sun. It's free. And so I pay a little bit of food bills and my fuel, my diesel, and my phone and my internet.
It's disgusting.
So my total bills is a couple of hundred, not $1,000.
That's amazing. So
that's weird.
For those of you outside the UK, I don't know what's going on with your energy prices and whatnot, but in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time,
3 weeks, yeah.
All the energy prices in the UK are about to go up 40% on average. How much are your energy prices going to go up, Dave?
No percent.
Yeah.
Well, although, I mean, the diesel prices have gone up.
Oh, diesel's gone up, yeah.
So, I mean,
it's gone up across the board. You kind of... I've seen some people recently in forums and groups on Facebook and stuff talking about fuel prices, saying, I don't really care because I need it. So whatever price it is, I'm going to buy it. So I try just to ignore it because it's a necessity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make myself unhappy thinking about diesel.
I mean, in return, that'll lead to petrol companies just hiking the price up.
Yeah.
Without any limits.
But let's be honest, it's going to go up anyway. When everyone's got an electric car and there's less demand, the price will be up anyway.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Most governments around the world are projecting to do that within the next 15 years or so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which is why I got my diesel car a couple of years ago. I'll get my 10 years out of it.
Hybrid, that's what I'm saying.
And I'll move on when they're actually worth buying, Kay.
Well, but I mean, that's, that is one of
skim over that.
But the thing is like, that's, but fuel prices are, and car insurance and everything. My car insurance has nearly doubled from like one year to the next.
Okay. So I can probably safely say this now.
That has nothing to do with any speeding tickets I may or may not. It hasn't because
brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway, but but that was a
just note it was plural what you just said.
Well, that was a direct contributor to our decision as a family to move from having two cars to just being a one car family was the cost of motoring, and of course during the pandemic also the fact that we had two cars on the drive sit and do nothing, and us paying for it, we're thinking like, well, we don't have to do that, and and then just realizing that we could probably actually get away with just having one car. And then the question is, well, if that's possible, then why do you need two cars? And why should you, run two cars? And, and then, we thought like, well, seeing that we're, moving down to only having one car, why don't we get a car that's environmentally friendly at the same time, i.e. a hybrid at that point.
You don't need to convince me. You don't need to convince many people.
No,
just this guy.
Yeah. So, but that was, but it was, ultimately it was like, okay, the price of motoring is going through the roof, and actually,
it is.
We don't really need it that much. And it is true to say, I mean, it's fair to say that there have been, quite a few situations where it would have been easier to have two cars, but overall, if every time when we have to be in two different places at the same time, and when we would we would need another car if on every one of those occasions we would hire an Uber or even hire a car for the day, we'd still be cheaper off, or it would still be less expensive than to actually own a car outright. And when you think of it that way,
cars are just money burners. They depreciate so fast.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you own it, you lose your money. If you lease it, you're paying someone else for a car. It's not your, it's not your car. You're paying for nothing basically.
So it's
no investment.
It's ultimately, you're paying. For us, it turned out to be that having two cars is less of an inconvenience, but there's a price tag to that. And so, we figured, okay, I mean, it was a test at first, and we decided to try it for 6 months, see how it goes, and if it really doesn't work out, then we'll just get another car again. It's no big deal. But it turns out it actually works really very well, because it is just a matter of arranging yourselves,
Well, the van, 10-year-old, 12-year-old van, £5,000. The cost of fitting it out was about £7,000, so it's £12,000, and I reckon I could sell it for 20. So I'm up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys.
Why don't we just do that? Don't even have to live in it. Just sell it.
Yeah,
the
it's a big business.
Camera shake mobile.
Yeah,
It was a lot of effort though, wasn't it?
it was.
You put a
It
lot
was
of time.
3 solid months, and then another 3, finishing off months. Yeah.
But I still think 6 months of a project like that is really astonishing. If you think about it, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that in 6 months. I wouldn't have been able to do that in 6 years, by the way. But so
It's done pretty well. It's done 13,000 miles. Since I've had it, it's done 230 something overall. Gone all over Europe, all up into the Arctic. It's done really well.
oh, you've really driven it in some really extreme conditions as well.
Yeah.
So
Terrible wind, thick snow.
So what was the worst condition that you found yourself in?
There's actually quite a few, so I don't know about the worst. There were lots of bad ones. In Norway, in the Lofoten Islands, there was a period of about 48 hours where I just couldn't move because the wind was so strong, hurricane force wind for 2 days straight.
Christ.
So I had to just park and just sit there and wait. And I didn't plan that very well, so I didn't have loads of food and stuff. So I was just sort of keeping myself busy, eating, junk food because I didn't plan properly. And when I could finally move, the place I'd found to stop was on the edge of on the side of a mountain. It was a pull out, a proper road lay by. But I was just getting battered by the wind. The snow was falling so thick that I'd get out and quickly clear the van off so that if I needed to move, I could. And then 10 minutes later, there'd be a big, thick pile of snow on it.
Christ.
But then in Iceland, there was... have you ever been to Iceland?
No.
So on the south coast of Iceland, there's lots of mountains, but there's also lots of plains. They're glacial floodplains. So they're huge, flat expanses where the water runs off the glaciers when they flood, the Jökulá. Floods off into the sea. And so there's these big flat areas. One of them's called Skaftafell, which is sort of halfway up the southeast coast. And I found myself there during an Arctic storm with, again, hurricane force winds, but we're talking, I think it was like 110, 120 mile an hour winds or something, gusting. And with no cover, nowhere to hide on a big flat area with volcanic ash and gravel. I couldn't figure out which way to point the van, whether to point it facing it. But then I've got the windscreen with the stones flying through the air, so I turned around the other way. And this storm raged all through the night. I was struggling to get to sleep. When I did finally get to sleep, I remember like waking up in a panic. Something obviously made a loud noise or something, because I jumped out of the bed and flew through the van into the driver's seat, ready to go. And it was all because of the noise and the ferocity of this storm.
Wow.
Bigfoot.
Was it Bigfoot?
It wasn't Bigfoot. There's no Bigfoot in Iceland. What's wrong with you?
Oh, is it a Yeti?
Yeah.
Um,
Come on, Kate.
so yeah, I mean, there were some real bad conditions in terms of ice and snow and wind, but it's the Arctic. That's how it is, and that's why I had those massive wheels with big meaty tires.
So how did the van perform out of those conditions? I mean, was it like, because I know you prepped and you did lots of test runs and all the rest of it, but when it actually came to it,
It was so scary.
how did the van actually perform?
The van did a great job, considering it's a 2-wheel drive enormous van. When the wind come in from the side, it's essentially a sail, and you're getting blown. And there were several times where the van was being pushed sideways on the road, especially in Iceland and Norway, where by the coast you get ridiculously strong winds and icy roads. The van was going sideways. There was a couple of times where I literally just had to stop, because if I was going forwards, I was going like that. In general, the van performed amazingly, considering everything like that. I wasn't running studded tires either.
Wow.
I should have, but it was not practical to actually change the tires over. So I had tires that are snow and ice rated, mountain and the snowflake on the tire wall. And it was just, there were points where it was scary. Thinking, am I going to go off the road here? But it did really well. I did get stuck in the snow once.
You did?
I did. I dig my way out. I was going for coffee. So the Northern Lights went crazy this one night in Iceland. I was in Vik, which is on the south coast, and I drove towards Skogafoss, shot the Northern Lights on the way and at Skogafoss. Drove back to Vik because my plan was I had to continue east the next day. So I was going to park near School Beans Cafe, which is a converted American yellow school bus that's a coffee shop. And so I was going to park near there because I know their coffee is amazing. And so I turned in, but I turned in on the wrong road in Vik. And there's only a couple of roads in this whole town. And I turned onto one that they just didn't clear properly. And I thought the van will be all right. It's fine. It was a lot thicker than I thought it was. It sort of dipped down. So it's about 2 a.m. and I'm stuck on this road and the van just won't move. So I had to get out, get the chains on, get the spade out, dig the van out of the snow, make a load of noise, probably wake up half the town, and then go back to the other road. But fortunately, when I woke up the next morning, I got a nice message on Instagram from the cafe saying, wakey, wakey, coffee's ready. I did get stuck. Yeah. That wasn't part of the plan.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
But that's why I have chains and a shovel and everything in the bag, because I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Luck's going to run out.
For all the planning that you did to build the van and to make it as robust as possible, I'm going to hazard a guess that over the last few months, things have cropped up where you think, I wish I'd done that differently, or I wish I'd added this, or I wish I'd not done that. And anything in particular?
I wish I had a desk.
A desk?
Desk.
Okay. Yeah.
Practically, I don't have anywhere to put one because of the positioning of everything, the window and the door and everything. But I wish I had a desk to sit at and do my work, rather than, I've got like a little lap desk and I've got a swivel, it's called a lagoon table, like they have on boats that swivels around. But it's just not the same as being sat at a desk. Maybe I'll address that. I don't know. And the bed, you know how high the bed is?
Yeah, it was high,
I
wasn't it?
like that.
It's like the top of a bunk
But-
bed.
Yeah, I like that, but I don't. It's a way off. The space that I've got underneath the bed to keep all the extra bits and pieces is awesome. And the fact that I can see out the skylight because it's so high up is awesome. But then if I dropped it a bit, then I could use the bed as like a couch as well, and perhaps put a desk in where the couch is. So I'm not unhappy with the design I went for, but I don't know, maybe.
I think often it's like any apartment that you move into. You put your furniture and you get to live in there for a little while, and then
you're
start
going to move it
moving.
around again. Yeah. Probably in the middle of the night when you're like, I've got an idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I keep saying to Nick all the time. We should just leave this table set up so that we just turn things on and we start
Make
filming.
things a lot easier.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, light too. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, leave it there.
Beautiful. The skylight is something I've wondered about quite a lot, because you put this skylight in just over your bed.
Yeah.
So like you said, you can basically lie in bed and look at the stars and everything. And that's all well and good when it's like, it's August and it's all nice and warm and whatever. But when you're in -40, like that skylight.
And there's northern lights above your head.
Yeah.
Through the skylight.
But that skylight's going to be...
It's amazing.
But it also has to be freezing as hell.
No, it's fine. Thermal blind on the skylight.
Mm.
The skylight is double glazed.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And the van's got a heater.
Oh, right,
It's
okay.
fine. The draft comes in from the side window
Right, okay.
because that's single glazed, just a normal van window with a slidey opening bit.
Right.
That's the problem.
How did you fix that?
Haven't. Just put the blind down and hope for the best.
Right. Okay.
I don't know what would be involved. It's this. I don't know if I'd be able to fix it. I don't think there's any seal or anything. You could probably get like a piece of fabric to plug the gaps. I don't know. It's not that bad that I need to fix it.
What we
To be honest, you need ventilation, don't you?
You need ventilation,
especially if you're going to get condensation. You want the air to be able to come in and clear that. So that's it's fine.
I remember like when we used to have a rehearsal room when I was a kid, and we'd make these like a fake frame with lots of like foam inside, and then we'd basically just pop that on the window, and it would it would basically address the sound issue. But I guess some similar could probably work.
Yeah, probably work thermals as well as acoustics. Could be the
Don't
same
worry,
principles.
the wind will find its way through and give you a nice
exactly.
whistle instead.
As soon as
Yeah, exactly.
you fix that problem, it's going to find another way in.
Yeah.
It's true.
Cool. So all right, so what were the absolute highlights? Like, what was out of all of the countries that you went to, all the places that you've seen, what was the absolute like mega highlight of the whole trip?
So Iceland is my favorite place on earth. Being there in my own van, which is my own home right now, for a few weeks, and exploring and being able to just go where I want, when I want, and doing all that sort of stuff is awesome. But then similarly, the same thing in Norway, second favorite place on the planet. Spending the entire Christmas, New Year up there with the Northern Lights and the snow and the mountains and the beautiful skies. That was the whole reason I wanted to do this, is because I wanted to just be there for as long as possible to get as many Northern Lights pictures and videos as possible. And which is also why I want to eventually live there in one of these places, or Canada. So yeah, highlight is achieving that. Which means now I've achieved it, I need to set another goal.
Yeah, exactly.
And still figure out there's other things going on, but we'll see that.
Yeah. Well, you spoke of Northern Lights, and of course, for those of you who are listening and don't know this, you've actually written a book about how to photograph Northern Lights.
Yep, and so that's on its second edition. It's called the Complete Aurora Guide for Travelers and Photographers. There's actually another one coming out, which is going to be the Northern Lights Guides Handbook.
Right.
So how a Northern Lights guide can interpret space weather to find the Northern Lights. So if anyone's interested, that's going to be coming out.
Amazing.
But yeah, the Northern Lights are addictive. Crazy addictive.
See, I mean, the thing is, I always thought I always thought that it was very difficult to predict when and where and how strong and for how long Northern Lights would appear. So, and I know because I've been following your travels, obviously.
I've got it all sussed.
Yeah, you've got a really good system.
I can go, they're going to be out now, and they're going to stop now.
Yeah.
And there's so much data involved in figuring out how to do that. But it was cool because Oddpeter, one of my friend in Lofoten Islands, he's a Northern Lights guide. And he was asking me when the Northern Lights are going to be there. Excellent. And that's not because he's bad at it by any stretch, but it's because I've figured it all out. So yeah, there's a lot we don't know about the Northern Lights. Don't get me wrong, I don't know everything, but because there's a whole load of stuff we don't know why it happens or how it happens. We just know that it does. But the Northern Lights are addictive.
But I mean, how do you predict where they're going to be and
that's
when
a whole different episode. That's
I'm guessing
hours of stuff.
I'm guessing it's not like you drink a cup of coffee, you look at the bottom of the cup, and you go, oh well.
You need to know what's happening on the sun,
right?
And what intensity and what speed and how much stuff there is coming from the sun when there's a coronal mass ejection, which is plasma, which is helium. That's on the sun, that's not liquid or gas, it's plasma, it's another state of matter, flying through space, what speed or what density, what power, is it positive or negative? And then figuring out that data from visuals of the sun, combined with data from satellites in space, predominantly from one called Discover, and then what's happening on the Earth's magnetic field, the position and strength of the Earth's magnetic field, the polarity, what's going on in the atmosphere, what gases it's going to hit, where it's going to hit, all down to precise things like that mountain over there is made of granite, which is going to affect the Earth's magnetic field if the corona is coming this way right now. That's the level of detail it's at.
Somebody make
so
that.
There's like a whole. If you want to know, you can buy a book. I'll make an audio version for you.
There we go. There we go.
What we need is an
There's
app.
So much.
We just need an app.
I'd like a Dave Williams app, please.
Yeah.
Even the app would it's hard to do that. There are a lot of Northern Lights apps, and a lot of them will ping up a notification saying, "Look out the window in 15 minutes." It's wrong. The data's wrong. I know I'm looking at the graphs and saying, I know why you did that, but actually this bit of data doesn't add up to it actually happening.
Yeah.
And you've got north, south, and even lateral. There's so much. There's too much.
Wow.
Change the subject.
Wow.
Too much.
Let's stick with Northern Lights for a second.
It's going to get very technical if I actually get in the zone.
So you've obviously over the many years now, you've taken some awesome photos of the Northern Lights.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Did you manage to top any of those on this trip? And
are you referring,
conversely, did you manage to stuff any up?
Yeah. Both of those things.
Awesome.
So a bucket list shot of mine is again in the Lofoten Islands. If you go almost to the end, so you're going towards Reina, Sakrisoya, Hamnoya, there's a big fjord that you drive around, and at the end, the southern tip of the fjord, there's a little town, little fishing Rorbu location called Nusfjord. And the road to Nusfjordven, there's a mountain that curves up in a U shape, and the road goes straight at this mountain, so you get the peaks and then a U shape. And the first time I saw that, the first time I went to Norway, to Lofoten, I thought, that's perfect for framing, for composition, for the leading line of the road. I want the Northern Lights there, but the Northern Lights have to be really good and really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And the Northern Lights, while I was there, were really good and really strong.
Excellent.
And so I got the bucket list shot of the Aurora at the end of the road behind the mountains at Nusfjordven. But those Northern Lights were like top 3 I've ever seen.
Wow.
I can't quite put the top 3 in the right order because they were so good and so strong. But what was that?
Bedtime reminder.
Kay's watch saying that he needs to go to bed at 14 minutes past 10.
Yes.
Yeah, where was I? So I got that bucket list shot, but also, as with because we know, working professional whatever photographers who teach photography still get stuff wrong.
All the time.
I when I'm shooting the Northern Lights, I'm using usually a 14 to 24 millimeter lens, f2.8, so it's wide and it's wide open, so I get the whole sky. And I set manual focus before I start shooting, and then I lock it in quite simply by tying sellotape or gaffer tape around the lens barrel, so that I can't move the focusing ring. I obviously somehow managed to move the focusing ring while I was getting a shot in Reno, where I've got the mountains, there's a nice beautiful triangular shaped mountain as part of it, the town and some bridges all lit up, the moon shining over the mountain, the water in the foreground. It was like there was loads going on in this shot. It was awesome. And on the preview screen on the back of the camera, it looked awesome. It looked epic because it's a tiny little preview screen. And then when I got it on the computer, I'd obviously knocked the focusing ring and it was wrong. But I fixed it with Topaz Labs, Sharpen AI, not a sponsor. But it's that good. That software,
Great,
that software is really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So it's literally saved an image that's completely out of focus,
And
Yes.
it's actually done it.
It's the best sharpening app.
I can't. It's
plug-in
it's
app,
crazy.
also.
So somehow, with one shot, you managed to get one of your best images ever. And
they were both the same night.
How funny!
Yeah. So, but I can't recommend enough. If you want to go see the Northern Lights, the place to go see them with like the best rate of the Northern Lights is
Probably.
Photon Islands.
Wow,
I was seeing them 6 out of every 7 nights.
that's amazing.
And although obviously they're not really, really strong every night, they're there. You see them.
Well, hopefully we get a couple of these shots from you, Dave, and we'll pop these up in YouTube video. Definitely, if we can get the
wrong ones.
That'd be great.
So at this point,
Show a little bit what software can do when you are in a pinch and you've got to produce this photo still, and you can't go back.
Yeah.
If you've got something that can actually help you and get out of that little hole.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
Great.
And although it saved it enough to make it usable. I mean, I don't know about printing it big, selling it or anything like that, but in order for social media or, for my personal memories, it's more than good enough.
Yeah.
Clever stuff.
There's a huge difference between having a picture on, like a 7.5-inch screen, compared to having it printed, on the wall for sure. But no, Topaz is.
Maybe I should print it
it's
just,
amazing.
just to see. Just to see. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that.
Do it.
I should do that. Yeah. So the answer though is yes, that happened. I got a really good picture and a really bad picture, but then the really bad picture got saved.
I know that there were occasions, and we talk about your Vans troubles in those kind of climbs, but there were occasions when your camera gear also started to pack in. Yeah.
Also, -40. It's people. So how do I just explain this? When you get to 0 degrees C, 32 Fahrenheit, everything starts to feel the same from there down to about -20. Everything just feels it's cold. Without wind and without humidity, it just all feels the same. Whereas when you go above 0, when there is a lot of humidity and you get lots of wind and stuff, that can often feel colder. But when you get below -20, down to this -40 number, it's just ridiculous. Like around here, across your nose, your forehead, just hurts. It's just hurt. Your ears feel like they're going to fall off. Your fingers feel like they're going to fall off. It's just so damn cold. And a lot of our camera gear is rated to about -10. Batteries are no good in the cold. Lithium-ion batteries, no good in the cold at all. And so I had so many times where like the camera screen just started doing weird stuff. Just a menu would appear. like as if I'd pressed a button but it would just appear, but I could still see the image through the lens at the same time.
How weird.
Or
my God.
you'd press a button and then 3 or 4 seconds later, it would do the thing that you'd pressed. Our camera gear is just no good in the cold. Batteries, you got to keep them close to your body, because if you don't keep them warm, they're just gone. So if I'm doing Northern Lights time lapses in those temperatures, I'm changing the batteries constantly. Are you trying to be discreet?
Yep.
Right.
It's not working.
Did it work?
Just do it. Just yeah. So it's hard work. More importantly than the van and the camera gear, you have to look after yourself in those temperatures. I can't stress enough how stupid minus 40 degrees is.
And as we know, I can't handle the cold because
You
I was
can't.
wearing gloves earlier when we were outside and I was just wearing a jumper.
We're in Berkshire, England. It's like 8 or 9 degrees C.
It was
Yeah.
7.
He's in a parka with a big furry hood. He's got his gloves on.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I remember those days. Like I remember like minus 20, minus 25.
Yeah.
And I remember like going out, back in the day, like taking the dog out.
Mm-hmm.
And you wrap a scarf around your face because it's so flipping cold. But of course, the second you exhale, all of that
Yep.
breath starts freezing, and so by the time you get back
Inside
in,
the scarf,
it's
yeah.
all solid, and then your scarf sticks to your skin, and you literally have to like rip it off your skin and it hurts like hell. And yeah, I'm not missing those days.
Icicles on your eyelashes.
Icicles inside your nose.
My.
Like
Oh, yeah,
when
no,
your
that's
nose freezes, that is
horrible.
horrible.
That's
Yeah,
horrible.
no, that's that is like little spikes inside of your nose because all your
Are we
nose
going to
hair
have to go and
freezes.
do an Arctic
Yeah, it's much
episode
horrible.
just for Nick?
Yeah.
Like, come and look at this, Nick.
Yeah.
So I'm an Arctic virgin and a camping virgin.
The thing is, like, all your nose hair is literally frozen inside. It's solid, and you just do this, and it's literally like you're poking little needles inside your nose.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Like crunchy nose.
I don't
God.
miss it.
Why do this to yourself?
You have no choice here sometimes. That's the thing. Yeah.
The difficult thing is, like, in fact, I got my hand stuck to my tripod one day.
Excellent.
Hey, did you lick it?
I didn't lick it.
Did you lick
Don't
it?
be ridiculous. No,
Not the first time you've asked him.
I was shooting and I left the camera outside doing a time lapse while I sat in the van in the warm. It was so cold. And I went outside without my gloves. And I got halfway to the camera, which is about 50 meters away, before I realized I forgot my gloves. And I was like, oh, it doesn't matter, whatever. It's quicker to just grab it because it's so cold. I'll just grab it and get back rather than messing about. And I picked the tripod up and it was stuck. Like, I can't quite describe the feeling. It's not like it was glued to you, but it's stuck.
Sure.
And so I'm walking back to the van, trying to just gently move my fingers away from the metal of the tripod. It was only the metal, obviously. There were rubber bits in there that was fine. And I had to just sit inside the van for a couple of seconds before I could get my hand off it.
Oh, wow.
It was weird. Is what it was. It was weird. It wasn't. Yeah.
I think we've all had our tongue stuck to an ice cube when we were a kid. Or is
Ice cube?
Is that just me?
Street light.
Street
That's what we used to do, man, as kids. Yeah.
street light.
Yeah, street lights. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, street lights and like road signs and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah. So this is like a thing. where
Different world in the south of Germany.
yeah, when we were kids, because it gets we have like you get minus 20, minus 25.
Yeah, inland is bad. That's why we don't get it so bad in England.
Yeah.
Because we're not. There's nowhere that's properly inland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of Europe, so cold.
Yeah, it's pretty freezing. But so one of the things that we used to do, yes, one of the sort of the challenges or whatever, as a kid was that you get somebody to basically put their tongue at a street light post or something like that, which is metal, and then of course it'd be hilarious if their tongue goes like,
Of course, it's gonna stick.
yeah, of course. So it's just one of these kids things you do.
And how'd you get it off?
Well, it doesn't really matter because everybody else just starts running away.
Brilliant. No one's got any warm water.
Wow.
You just breathe in it. I mean, that's one of the things you can do. But yeah, like I said, I don't.
So you could be like this.
Yeah, pretty much. And it hurts like hell. I mean, it does actually. hurt like hell,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Good.
Just my hand on the tripod.
I remember like taking the dog out and taking a cup of coffee outside and just walking the dog for a few minutes, looking at my coffee, the coffee that was hot when I took it out.
No, that was annoying.
Then it's frozen.
Make a coffee, go outside, take a photo, and then like go to sip on your hot coffee and it's not hot anymore. It's not even like warm, it's just cold.
Yeah.
It's hard work. You got to think about things in the Arctic so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so now that you're back, and we go into the whole story as to how it happened that you had to come back, sort of thing. But now that you're back here in a relatively moderate climate, do you feel like you can just go out in a t-shirt?
Well, I went to Three-Legged Thing the other day to swap out some gear and see the girls in the office there, and I was in a t-shirt, and they were like, "Oh, you can tell you've been to the Arctic. Like, it's warm."
Yeah, comparatively speaking.
There's obviously something wrong with me. I know I'm in a fleece right now, but yeah, no, it's a big climate shift, isn't it? Moving from like so cold for 3 months, like this pain that I was describing around here, it stayed for 6-7 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, it was that
wow.
cold. Yeah. So coming away, driving south and coming away from that was like quite nice. And so everything suddenly felt really warm. But it wasn't. It was just because it wasn't -20, -30. It was just like -5. Being in Iceland, going from the Arctic, driving down through Sweden, getting to Denmark, and then flying back to Iceland. Iceland felt like really moderate, really mild. And yeah, but it's relative, isn't it? It's just relative.
You know what? The other thing that I found really quite interesting, but when I was following your travels, was that you managed to not only do all the driving and getting to places and and traveling and everything else, and then dealing with all the the weather and the climate and the circumstance and everything else, but and doing the work that you do, as in finding locations, photographing them, and all the rest of it, and planning all that. But you also then, at the same time, documented the whole thing in your YouTube series. So that on its own, and that being said, you'd never actually done it before, so that was a new thing for you right from the start.
Yeah.
And so, I know how much time and effort and work it takes to make.
You have to make it a habit. That's what you have to do. If you break that habit, it all goes wrong.
It is, and that's it, isn't it? It's one thing going to a job and intentionally making a video.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing doing what you do and at the same time constantly
carrying it around with you everywhere.
Yeah. You were doing it today, right?
Yeah.
And we know this because we failed miserably at that actually in the past.
We're shockingly bad at it.
Yeah. I mean, our first trip where we decided, again, we've mentioned this several times on the show, of course, when we had our first anniversary episode, like episode 52, we decided we wanted to go to London and do some street photography and actually make an episode in London, where we'd go around London and we shoot different places. And we thought it'd be a really great idea. It was different. It was just at a time when things were opening up and we could actually get outside. So we just spent this whole year in lockdowns and whatnot. And that was our idea. And of course, we got to London. And I think we're both so overwhelmed by the fact that this was the first time we'd been in town in a whole year, and we could actually, experience a little bit of freedom again and all that kind of stuff, that we managed to film 2.5 minutes.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Used it all.
Yeah, we used it all in the end. But we ended up having to.
It's really hard. You have to get into the mindset that that it has to become a way of life. If you're going to be a YouTuber that's vlogging and documenting everything that's going on, you literally have to film everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But then after you figure that out and you form that habit and you make sure that happens, the next bit that you have to think about is transitioning from one bit to the next to the next to the next. There's a story, and it has to be a story. And I'm not very good at it because I was like you said, I haven't been doing it for very long. It was all new to me, but I've figured out that there has to be a story. And so each episode has to go through this story and builds up to something and explains what's going on and shows the journey. And a video goes that way, doesn't it? And figuring out and remembering what's the last thing I said every time you pick up the camera, so that you use the right connecting word or put the right piece of the story back together. That's hard. That's the hard bit. Everything about YouTube's pretty hard, actually.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Agreed.
Really. But yeah, those two things are the like making the habit and making the transitions and the connections between each video that you do, or each piece that you do for the sequence. It's really tricky. Really tricky.
I mean, and ultimately you're doing it in a harder way than most, because most people's, if you look at 99% of the videos that are out there, all in one location or about one
sat
thing
over a
or
table or
whatever they might be.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But
they're not doing it over the course of a week.
No, not necessarily. It's quite
tricky.
rare. It does happen, of course, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. So you've made your life hard.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I have.
So how much pre-planning does go into like each episode? Generally,
I try and make sure there's something interesting in each one, which means there's got to be something interesting each week, something engaging, stimulating, something new is. Well, I don't know if that's a thing, actually, because new things, something someone hasn't seen before, the Northern Lights, for example, is interesting, but something familiar can sometimes be equally as interesting and engaging.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think, when...
So I don't know if that's a thing.
The longer the more episodes you make, the fewer new things there actually are.
Yeah.
Because,
once also, it's got to be interesting to me to make it. So now I'm back in the UK. That's hard. We were talking about this earlier. Something that you're used to. Right. Let's look at it from the perspective of travel photography. Travel photography is something. It's a photo that makes you want to go somewhere. And when you shoot travel photography, it's a lot easier to do it in a location that's new to you or away from the normal location you're in. So I grew up around here, and so this area around outside, from the perspective of being a travel photographer, boring to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
But a tourist coming in here and seeing all this, Windsor Castle over there, and the river, and Eton College, all that for the first time, that's interesting. That's not to me, though.
No.
To me, I want to see icebergs and northern lights and mountains. And so that figuring out the balance there is similar to the work done by a travel photographer, where you're not necessarily showing travel, but you're showing a destination and shooting it in such a way that someone wants to be there. There's a big connection between the two things, and converting that thought into the thought process of shooting a video to make it engaging and stimulating and make someone want to be there, and using that in the planning of the video and building it into the schedule, if you like, is sometimes hard work. Because this week I'm doing this. So we've started off this week's episode with me being on your podcast.
And this clearly is the most interesting thing you've done, not only this week, but all the other weeks.
But yeah, so then what I'm actually doing next is I'm going to the garage because the van needs an ABS sensor and a thing I can't remember what it's called that changes. So like your fan inside. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine only works on 4.
Brilliant.
None of the numbers in between work. So there's a resistor that changes the amount of air.
Okay.
Mine's broken, so that thing needs fixing. Boring. Really boring. So I need to find some fun stuff to do. I don't need to find anything for me because I've got loads of work to do. I need to find something fun and engaging to show on the video.
You could, of course, since this is the world of, make-believe, you could also fake something, like break a window on your van or something and just say.
See that guy that jumped out of that plane? Speaking of that. You see that guy that jumped out of a plane for, likes?
No.
He flew up in a plane. I can't remember what the whole thing was, but he flew up in a plane over these mountains, middle of nowhere, and made out like his plane had some kind of an error and jumped out. But he was on his own. And the plane's rigged like you wouldn't believe with cameras. And the engine was still working when he jumped out of it. He's wearing a parachute. He's doing that. He's doing that for the likes. What's wrong with people?
I know.
Why am I going to break a window on my van for likes? No, Kirsten.
But I will take it to the garage and get my heater fixed.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like,
I will, definitely. Yeah.
So, I mean, now you're like something like 20, 21 episodes
Yeah, 21.
in. Has it gotten easier to make those episodes? And also, like, how has your process of changed over that time? Because again, you've got to fit all of this in.
Yeah,
so
it comes out on a Sunday evening, and the video will generally get edited on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. The process of filming the videos has not got any harder or easier. It's always just a bit tricky. It becomes more about making the content. That's just the same. Processing and editing the footage into a video that makes sense, that's got easier because I'm learning the software, learning video type stuff, editing stuff. I mean, I'm not great at it, but I'm learning how to do it. And so obviously it's becoming easier. Telling the story and like learning, like taking a segment and having the sound cross over while the video picks up to the new one and all that sort of video.
Ellen J. Cuts.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Ellen
J.
J. Cuts.
Cuts.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah, see, that stuff that I'm learning about how, even if I don't know what it's called, I'm learning how to do it. So that side of it is
I bet it's
getting
stuff
better.
like that feels quite natural to do, whether you know the terminology or whatnot. You know it from watching stuff anyway.
Yeah.
And think, what am I hearing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You also develop a different eye. You know, once you start video editing yourself, you know, the next time you watch something on TV or on YouTube or something, you develop that eye.
Yeah,
you kind of
definitely.
go, "Ooh, I see why they're doing."
So I was
this."
always looking at it from a photographer's perspective and figuring out lighting and compositions from TV stuff and movie stuff. But I was looking at it as a photographer, so I was picking out one thing from it. But now, with all the video stuff, I'm looking at entire sequences and scenes and everything else. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. It's a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a lot of work.
Well, it's a lot of work mainly because you've got to deal not only with the visuals but also with the audio side of things.
Yeah.
You know,
And you can
that's the other thing.
have bad visuals, but you can't have bad audio.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that I've learned.
Yeah.
I can be out of focus and no one cares. If anything, it's better. But if the audio's wrong, that's it.
Yeah.
Switch off, find something else.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you still spend the same amount of time editing a video now, or has that process
No, that process is halved.
Yeah.
Easily halved. So the first video I did, I spent like 12 hours editing it. And I'm only 21 in now, on top of the pit stop videos require virtually no work because it's one piece to camera, import it, put the music over the top, put the graphics in, easy. But the story, the due north stuff, it's I can get a 45-minute video edited in probably 3-4 hours, maybe 5.
That's
at
actually
most.
good going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
for
really
an
good
hour
going.
video,
Yeah.
It's
Particularly when you're talking
You-
multiple
you
clips,
sit there
B-roll and
and
whatnot, knocking
Yeah.
about. And it's not.
the way I do it is I import all the cameras into a file. So there'll be the Insta360, the G7X, the Sony 6400, the other HD camera. I just don't know what it's called. I've got a good HD camera. It's a Canon. And then iPhone, and then drone, and GoPro. So a folder for each camera.
Yeah.
Then a folder for the music, and then a folder for the graphics.
Yep.
And then I'm just sort of filling it all in, making it make sense. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
you know, I mean, it was really the same sort of learning curve, I guess. You know, for us, you know, filming this podcast, like from the very beginning through to now, you know, we've gone through X amount of different sets. We've experimented with, you know, multiple camera setups with 3 cameras at one point.
That was unpleasant.
Yeah, but we tried different things because we thought like, oh, we want to make it better. And that was always the thing that we were like striving for. It's like we always wanted to improve, from the very beginnings when, we were filming ourselves in our respective homes. And then I'd send my files over to Nick, for example, which I had filmed with my camera. And then, Nick had filmed himself with a different camera. And then we had the Zoom as well and all that kind of stuff. And I remember at the very beginning, we were both pretty much like moving around our houses as well, just trying to find different places where we could film ourselves and how to do it and how to light it. At the very, very beginning, I remember I was like building this elaborate background, like with a backdrop and I had it planned and I had like a light in the background and all that kind of stuff, And then over time, the whole thing just, we simplified the process because it took like an hour and a half to set up at the time. And of course,
that's good because you only got this. You only took an hour and 20 to get this ready.
but the thing is, what we did do is we kind of streamlined the process, over time.
Yeah.
And then when once we had that locked in, then of course the whole, the world opened up again, and we could actually be in the same room again. And then we had a slightly different setup where we had 3 cameras. We had loads of light, and every week it seemed like we were using more and more lights. Do you remember? It was like at first it was just one overhead light, one key light, and then we had like we thought like, oh, why don't we just put some side lights in? And then we started lighting the background as well.
Get the walls blue and pink, get it all in there.
Well, back then we used to light.
The pink.
We used to light.
Good, do you like that?
Love the
That was
pink.
my idea.
We used to light different elements of the backdrop. Do you remember? We had like little LED lights and big LED lights and all the rest, and then it really got to the point where it was like literally setting up a whole studio like every time. And then the penny dropped and we kind of thought like, well, okay, how can we simplify the whole thing and get actually a better result? And so when Nick came up with the idea of actually just using one main camera and we position ourselves next to each other. So we're looking at the camera, but we're talking to each other. We're still talking to each other, but we're also sort of looking at the camera at the same time. Then all of a sudden everything fell into place because then literally we just managed to reduce everything down to one key light, and one background light with a gel, and that was it. And to be honest, I mean, compared to, and this is not the setup that you're seeing right now, by the way, this is just our standard setup. In comparison, whilst probably previously it took us about an hour or something for both of us to set everything up, now it's probably like 15 minutes, really.
We can set up in 15 minutes if we have to, yeah.
And the end result's actually better than it was before. It requires a lot less post-production because now you're just editing one camera rather than having to cut 3 cameras together.
From a pure technical aspect, it requires no editing.
Yes.
Within reason, other than top and tail plus some overlays and whatever might be going on. Whereas had we even if we'd had exactly the same setup back at the start, the editing was still significantly more because of the number of stops and starts that we had. Oh, let's just do that again.
Of course.
We weren't used to talking to camera. We're used to doing that type of thing, but now
I used to do a podcast back in the day, the hybrid photography podcast, and I very quickly learned that you do not stop. You don't go, oh, I'll just do that again. Oh, that sounded funny. You just carry on. You just
power through.
Yeah. And the same thing with video. When you're talking to a camera, especially when you're trying to teach something, it's kind of like you have to think like you're on stage in front of a live audience, because otherwise you're going to stop and think, that didn't sound quite right. That isn't exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah. Or sometimes you can trip over the script you've got in your head, the little script that you've got thinking about what you're going to say. And you can't do that. And the thing is, the reason you do stop is because of what you think you sound like. But the only person who knew what you were going to sound like was you. No one else watching or listening knew what the script was. And so it's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I think
it's only wrong in your own perception of yourself, and you're just judging yourself and making it really bad, and you have to just carry on talking.
And it's a process you learn, obviously. It took us, I don't know, I mean, the reality, I mean, the way we approached it really from the very beginning was that we figured, look, if episode 10 is better than episode 1, we're
When
winning.
you're winning.
Yeah. And the episode 20 is better than episode 10, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. And, that over time has proven to be the right recipe, because actually it means that, or it meant that it was relatively easy for us to just carry on doing it. And we just naturally progressed. And I remember, again, we've mentioned this many times on the show, when we first had the idea to put this podcast together and we started discussing it, we thought up so many problems, so many obstacles, that it would have been really quite easy for us to talk ourselves out of the whole idea, because, we could just...
Sounds like hard work.
Yeah, it sounds like hard work.
Yeah.
It also sounds like, there's one problem, then how do you do this, and how do you do that, and we don't know how to do this, and then, but if we do it this way, then this happens, and how are we going to deal with that, and blah, blah. And, and at some point there was just this thought that actually, well, just screw it, let's just do it, and we'll just figure it out. And of course, you look back at early episodes, we can see that now. It's very blatantly obvious now, of course, but now,
And now you're further down the road, and people are looking at this newer stuff.
Yeah.
That's better.
And we couldn't be here unless we'd done all of that.
Yeah,
to begin
exactly.
with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I've watched people. I can't get on with the idea of just, well, let's just wait until it's 100% before we actually release anything. And this is the same with people who try to release music or never actually release music, I should say. Really, it's the same. I know a couple of people who've wanted to have created a product of some description or a way to sell something and wanted it to be perfect, and they've missed out on 9 months worth of potential sales because some plugin wasn't quite ready to go or something like that on the website, whatever it might have been. Sod that. People can see through the fact that it might not be 100%.
Yeah, but it's the effort that's going into it and the commitment that's going into it. That gets,
the result is there for people. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
I think the thing to realize
it's
is
the
that
thing for the YouTube.
Yeah, and I think
if you want to do a YouTube video, the only way to do it is just do a damn YouTube video.
Yeah. But there's this realization
No
that we
messing about.
as human beings, we grow.
Yeah.
Over time, and that's true for any creative endeavor that we undertake. I think no matter whenever you get involved in a long-term project, I think you realize that by the end you're always producing better work than you did at the beginning, and that's just because you've grown with the project. That's just generally how it works.
Yeah.
So
there are YouTubers out there or like who will remove early videos, and I can understand the reasoning behind that. I personally don't agree with it, and the reason I don't agree with it is because, and I guess this comes from having I've done a lot of training over the years and things like that, and I'm all about wanting to teach other people, and I see that as a huge teaching opportunity for people, a learning opportunity where they can see, well, this is, take the podcast as an example. This is a podcast that I listen to and I enjoy listening to and I enjoy watching. But two years ago, or 90, what do we say it was now? 96 episodes ago.
Yeah. 97.
Actually, by comparison, it looked crap. By comparison, it didn't sound as good.
No.
By comparison, the content probably wasn't as good.
For sure.
At the time,
But at the time,
best thing ever.
it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. And, also, as something we mentioned at the very beginning of this episode is, it's all about your own intent, your intention.
Exactly.
Again, for us, it was more like, we started the podcast not because we really thought about an audience or anything like that. We started this podcast because at that point in time, given the circumstances that we were in, we needed to do something for our own mental well-being. And that was the perfect catalyst. Everything that followed from there on was just that just sort of happened in a sense. But at that time it was literally just, we gotta do something, otherwise we're gonna go stir crazy. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
a good idea.
I think as a little piece of advice, for anybody who's toying with the idea of either, starting something on YouTube or starting a podcast or starting, getting started with any creative endeavor, really, it is, that
Just do it.
Just
You
do
have
it.
to just do it.
Done is better
Because
than
if
perfect.
you wait until you're ready,
Yeah.
then you'll be waiting forever.
Yeah, you'll never be ready.
Yeah. So you just got to do it.
Yeah.
My first YouTube video, terrible. Massive gaps in it. Was like putting too much emphasis on certain things and not enough on the right things. But I just did it.
Yeah.
And it worked. And the next one was better. And the next one was better. And the next one was better. And it just carried on. Now, hopefully, this one's going to be really good. That's going to be coming out of, you guys this week.
This is going to be the best. It's going to be the best.
But yeah, the only way to do it is just do it. Because if you wait until you're ready, you're never going to be ready. So you'll be waiting forever.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So it's, if you want to travel the world or travel the Arctic in a van,
Yeah.
just have to do it.
Honestly, like people go, oh, I really want to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights. I hear it all the time, obviously, because I churn out so many pictures of Iceland and the Northern Lights. Just do it. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Just get there. Rent a car, book a hotel, do it. Because if you keep waiting, you'll be waiting forever. And it might never happen. It's a good bit of advice. Good solid bit of advice there,
Yeah,
guys.
It is.
You better do it soon because, since before nuclear winter.
Yeah.
descends upon
Nuclear
us.
winter.
Well, changing the subject back from nuclear winter. For the next 6 years, the Northern Lights are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger because the solar cycle is building back up. The activity on the sun is getting big. And there's been some huge geomagnetic storms already this season. And it's going to be strong. So it's an 8-year cycle.
I was going to say, is that a normal thing
Yeah.
to happen? Yeah.
We've just gone past solar minimum. We're on our way to solar maximum. It's going to take about 6 years to get there,
Wow.
including this year.
I'm going to wait for 5 years before I go then.
Just get there now. What are you waiting for? If you wait forever, it will never happen. Have you not listened?
But they're going to be stronger in 5 years' time. Let's just go ahead.
We do need to do that, though.
Or,
I think
better
actually,
still, we go now, get some practice.
I think your readers, that's what you call people that listen to a podcast. I think your readers,
97 episodes, and that's total
honestly,
news to me.
New
isn't
to
that new? Google it. Trust me.
Really?
Anyway, I think your readers should let us know whether the three of us should go to Iceland or Norway on a little adventure, do a camera shake excursion, if
Nice.
you like.
What I heard was Dave's paying.
Have you got a sponsor? Do you have a sponsor?
We do not. Would you like to
97
sponsor
episodes
us?
in.
Would you like to
If
sponsor
anyone
us?
wants to sponsor the Camera Shake podcast, they're ready.
We are ready. But yeah, I mean, we've gone to Wales before
Woohoo!
and Birmingham.
Yeah.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Yeah.
Wasn't quite. Was it? Well, all right. It was like an inch into Wales, wasn't it?
Well,
No,
it was
we-
Wales. It was
Oh, it was
Wales.
a couple
It
of
was
feet.
Wales.
Yeah, it was Wales.
Couple of feet into Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can tick it off your list. You've been to Wales.
I was made to go to Wales before. It's fine.
How many countries have you been to?
Do you know? I can tell you.
Go on.
I have an app.
Is it called Bean?
It might be. Yeah. Yeah. I've visited 9% of the world. How do I change that
Tap on
to
the 9%.
22?
Ooh.
Okay, so I think that's
That's
reasonable.
reasonable. That is reasonable. So make it 23. Let's go to Iceland.
Or Siberia.
Don't go to Siberia.
It's the same temperature.
You can't use your MasterCard.
Oh, no, true. Oh, damn it. Or our phones.
Or if anything. No Facebook, no Instagram, no news,
Yeah.
no food.
You wouldn't actually be able to.
food.
Well, here's the thing, right? So, yeah, okay. So we wouldn't be able to make a podcast episode. Like, we wouldn't be able to upload anything to YouTube.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing. So,
Yeah.
But this actually it brings me to the other thing that I've been wondering about, for all that time that I've been following your YouTube channel is when you're out there, like you're out in the prairie, right? In some avalanche Arctic storm thing, right? Stuck in the ice and the snow and everything else. And you're putting your episode, together for that week. And it comes up to Sunday How the hell do you upload that
It's
stuff?
still 4G, mate. So the van's got a router in it.
Right.
That's a lot of gigs on 4G.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Although I have to,
2 to 3 gigs per episode.
I have to say though, some of the 4G like Wi-Fi kind of units. What am I talking? Units.
Mi-Fi.
Routers or it was
Router.
You know, you can get the mobile broadband that you can
Yeah.
get for your house.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just run off a SIM card.
Yeah, Vodafone keeps sending me stuff about that all the time.
I've seen them getting almost as fast upload that I'm getting here on Virgin, like super, super duper fast.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not quite there.
Yeah.
It's good.
Really close.
Well,
It's
that's
like
what-
90% of it.
So
That's
that
what I
would-
have in the van. Sometimes I can upload it in no time at all, but I have to find good
Sure.
locations. But I will go out of my way to do that. So if I'm ready to upload and I've got time limits, then I'll move down the road or I'll find somewhere that's got the strong connection and get it done.
Yeah.
But it's not hard.
Mm.
There's in Norway and most other countries, apart from the UK, the infrastructure on mobile phones is so much better. There's signal in every tunnel and there's full signal on 4G everywhere you go. We're not very good at it. The Faroe Islands, I don't know how many people are there. It's a tiny, tiny country spread over 18 islands in the middle of the North Atlantic, and they've got full coverage on every square meter of those islands.
Well, that's not surprising. And you've got, not very many people on lots of islands. They're going to have to watch porn. Right?
Anyway, they're quite proud of their mobile, and it is amazing. And we can't get it right.
I get one bar here.
Yeah, this area is particularly crap, actually.
Yeah.
Shockingly.
Yeah. But I tell you another reason why.
It's because of the college.
Another
but-
reason why 4G internet wouldn't work for me at my place, actually, is because although the 4G is actually very strong wherever you are in a house, there's one spot in the house where it doesn't work, and this is the most annoying spot ever. And that's in
in the toilet.
No, it's in the bathroom, but it's
Okay.
no, it's fine in the toilet. Fine in the toilet. That side of the bathroom is fine. It's the other side, where the sink is. We have a window in front of the sink, and basically, when I put my phone on the windowsill, when I want to watch something whilst I'm brushing my teeth, the bloody signal.
Who's watching stuff while they're brushing their
Me.
teeth?
It's boring. I mean, why would you?
It's 2 minutes of your life.
I know several times a day, but it's like, but
There are bigger problems out there.
I know, I'm sure they are. But
You
this is-
spend far more time the other side of the bathroom, sat down. I assure you.
But yes, and again, the signal is is there, it's comfortable, but on where it's one of these
Well,
things.
you
Shall I help here? The answer is I will drive to somewhere where there's 4G.
And
What's
brush
the
your
name?
teeth there. Excellent.
Wow.
I don't remember last time I brushed my teeth in the bathroom. I walk around the house brushing
Do
my
you?
teeth.
Oh
Yeah, I
no,
do,
no.
yeah.
That's actually sort of that's a
You've been
what you call
banned
it?
from that, haven't you?
No, it's a pet peeve that I have. No, I don't do it anyway because I can't stand it. But I have to constantly ban my daughter from doing that because my youngest daughter, Cara, she likes to brush her teeth, walk around and chat.
Oh, chat. Yeah, chatting's a little tricky.
And so it's like she doesn't necessarily do it anymore when she was little, and so so there's this trail of toothpaste.
Oh no, that's no good.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Wow.
over the sink.
Oh, good. I know how to piss you off the next time. Around.
Well,
I'll
Yeah.
use your toothbrush as well.
nice,
Wow.
excellent. I like that on our little camping trip. Actually, that was quite
What,
funny.
sharing a toothbrush?
Well, no, the whole thing of like brushing teeth in the forest.
yeah.
That's all right.
Did you like it when I cuddled you while we were brushing our teeth?
Oh yeah,
Into that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Electric toothbrush, no matter where you are, even if you're in the middle of the woods, it has to be done. So
Like it.
I know.
Like it. What did you just walk into?
What's going on?
You were
here?
still asleep.
Am I still on the Camera Shake podcast?
You're on a podcast.
Yeah.
We seamlessly cut to another one that we do.
It was seamless, yeah. Didn't even notice that.
Anyway, so now you're back in the UK, obviously. what's your plan for the next sort of 3 to 6 months?
I have 7 weeks until I need to leave the country again on a plane. So in those 7 weeks, I need to come up with a plan. It all depends on what happens this week with the van. Fuel prices after that. But I'm thinking Wales to start with.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to get back up to Scotland again. Maybe over to the Isle of Harris. Or the other island next to the Isle of Harris, which is called... it begins with a D. Anyway, up to Scotland, maybe into the islands, the Isle of Skye, perhaps. And then I need to be back down south to catch a plane over to California. Russell Brown's Rock and Roll Reunion, which is an Adobe event, is in April. I'll be speaking there, and I'll also be doing some other bits and pieces there. And then I'm going to go to Texas for 3 weeks. I might go to Florida as well and shoot a Kelby 1 class. It depends if they approve the pictures I've put in. This is all part and parcel of the business of photography.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll be back for a couple of weeks, and then I'm heading to France in June, helping my friend Peter, who's riding to Paris. Weirdo.
On a bicycle.
On a bicycle.
In spandex.
In spandex.
Pink spandex.
We know, Peter.
Probably floral print.
Oh no.
Anyway, yeah. So I'll be doing that, being his support vehicle, and then I'll depart from Paris on another Schengen adventure. But because it's going to be June, July, August, I'll probably go to the Dolomites, the Alps, maybe the Pyrenees. I'll probably head to the south of France, get the lavender fields, all that fun stuff. The Tuscany. There's all this cool stuff to do there. Then,
So, but here's the thing, though. I mean, although that does sound really cool. So if you're leaving in June, because you can be in the Schengen area for 3 months, right? And then you have to come back for 3 months.
90-day rule, yeah. 90 out of every 180 days.
Right. Okay. So it's basically 90 in, 90 out.
Yeah.
Okay. So June. So it's June, July, August. Then you're gonna have to come back. September, October, November, and then December time would be the first opportunity for you to get back out. Is that right?
Yeah. So I might not go for a full 3 months.
Right.
I might cut it short. It depends what happens, obviously, but I might cut it short so that I can go back over for the December, January, February period for Northern Lights and snow and mountains and stuff. But considering I don't really know what's going to happen this week, I think that's a guess. We'll see. We'll look at the more immediate things.
Yeah.
Get the work out of the way, get everything done, get the van sorted, get all the writing done, get on top of everything.
Yeah.
And then think about that.
So based on your
so the next thing really is America.
Based on your previous experiences, or based on the experience that the stuff that we talked about earlier about your van, are you planning any sort of modifications to the van before you take it back out?
It's fine the way it is. You asked me, so I answered. But it's not something that's been burning on my mind or anything that I'm like desperate to change. So it's fine the way it is. So yeah. What I have been thinking,
paint it pink.
4x4.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not a snowplow on the front.
Well, that's a good idea. Like a pickup truck though, or something like that. Super Jeep. That'd be cool.
Super cheap.
Yeah.
But you might not necessarily want to take that into the Arctic, though.
You definitely want to take that into the Arctic.
Okay.
That's what they're for.
Right.
Super cheap. But yeah, no changes. No. The van's fine.
Cool.
Just needs a new sensor. Other than that, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. So the one thing we haven't actually covered yet is why you ended up coming back.
So
can you describe it in one word?
Shit.
First of all.
So there's something wrong with your toilet.
No.
He said shits, not shitter.
With the
Okay,
shit.
so after being in the winter wonderland of Norway, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Lapland, and then going down to Eastern Europe, it was a massive contrast. my exit from the Schengen area, because of this 90-day rule, was into Croatia. So that the border from
no, let's look at there again. We've already said it once.
the border from Slovenia into Croatia was the exit to the Schengen area. And so the plan was to go to Turkey. So I was driving down the Croatian coast, the Adriatic coast, having quite a nice time, to be honest. Nice blue water.
Absolutely.
All that sort of stuff. That was cool. But then I was heading inland, and I got into Bosnia, and I'm not insured. The van's not insured in Bosnia. And so I had to buy border insurance to cover the van, and they wouldn't sell it to me. I don't know why. They checked my passport, they searched the van, and I kept saying, I need to buy insurance. I don't have insurance. Phrasing it every possible way to make sure it wasn't lost in translation. And they just kept going, nah, and said, go.
Oh.
I don't know what to do at that point because I wasn't insured. I couldn't find a solution online. I couldn't find an insurance office to buy insurance. And so I'm without insurance in a country where there are police checks, traffic checks everywhere. So I just was not happy about that. Didn't want to get caught, and just got through Bosnia as fast as I could. Bosnia as well, Sarajevo, the capital, lovely place. Really, like, I think the word that's used, like the generic word that used to describe every nice city, is cosmopolitan. And it really is a cosmopolitan, nice city. It's modern, everything's cool. But the rest of the country, you can still see the effects of the wars in the 90s, Yugoslavia, the whole situation. It was just dirt everywhere. Roads are falling apart. The infrastructure is really bad. And then I crossed into Serbia. And so I was happy to be away from my no insurance problem. And I'm in Serbia, and it's still messy. And I don't really... It's still dirty. The roads are still bad. But there were other problems. People were trying to break into the van. Someone tried to break into the van in Serbia. I was driving down a road, and there's no real proper motorways or highways. There's just normal roads that run through towns, and they're really busy, and the infrastructure's bad. So there's no street lights. I saw a dead body. Someone got hit by a lorry. And the body's just there in the road. And the police were there, but there was no cordon, there was no screen, the body wasn't covered, the person's dignity was not looked after. It was just there. And so that was weird. So I just thought, I was in two minds anyway about whether to carry on or whether to come back. And I thought, no, I'll carry on. I'm going to go to Turkey. So I crossed again, having had a really bad night's sleep because of the whole situation with someone trying to break into the van, not being able to find anywhere decent to stay. Campsites closed because it's off season, so wherever I sleep, it's wild camping. Got into Bulgaria, and then on that night, 2 people tried to break into the van.
Kidding.
Serious. And so the first time in Serbia, I just made a load of noise and scared them away. But this time I got out. I was ready for battle.
Yeah.
I got out of the van and faced up with 2 people. They ran away into the darkness. But as well as having the whole messy, dirty situation, when I say messy and dirty, there's literally just trash everywhere. It's not... I don't think it's anyone's fault in particular. I think it's like the system's fault. Like there's no proper garbage disposal or rubbish collection. I think it's just like that. Anyway, there's stray dogs everywhere this time. And the last time I was in Bulgaria, maybe 10 years ago, I remember there being stray dogs, and I was reading in the newspapers, the local media, about packs of stray dogs killing people, chasing them down and mauling them. Serious.
Many,
it's not made up.
Many spaniels and poodles.
Oh, that's it.
And they, that was still there. That problem was still there. And with everything adding up and the news, being in a green van, matte green van in Eastern Europe with loads of military movements. I can't stress how many military movements. You might see a convoy on the motorway every now and then. It was like constant. Everything was clearly building up. You could feel the tension. I was uncomfortable. I was restless. So at that point, I was like, no, I'm going back to England. Screw Turkey. Screw the rest of the plan. So I crossed into Romania. And the only reason I did that is because I had been to 49 countries. So if I crossed into Romania, that would be my 50th.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, I'll go to Dracula's castle in the Carpathian Mountains and it'll be nice. But it turned out I was wrong. It was covered in crab.
Oh,
But to be
And so
fair,
I just drove back from there to Dorset, 2,200 kilometers, and I just smashed it out. One big long drive with a sleep in the middle of it.
with your van from a distance, it's easy to see how that could have been mistaken for a military vehicle.
Yeah, it's matte green and it's got military decals on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there were so many. There were troop movements, like troop carriers. There were APVs. There were tanks on the back of lorries. There was just so many military convoys, like really big ones as well, all throughout Germany, Austria, Hungary, Romania, all the countries that border Ukraine. And obviously Romania borders Ukraine, and I was right there. And it just wasn't comfortable. You could feel that something's going down, and here we are.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's nice.
So now I'm back in the UK.
You did 2,000 kilometers in 2 days,
2,020
basically.
kilometers, yeah. So that's like 1,600. Yeah, 1,600 and something miles.
So 800 miles, cheeky little nap.
Yep.
Another 800 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I remember some years ago, we did an orchestral concert tour from. We drove to Budapest in one day and
That's
back to
long.
Budapest.
Yeah.
And I was like, there was a 25-hour ride. And I remember I was shattered.
Yeah.
By the end of that,
Yeah.
there's just no, and that wasn't even me driving. It's just me being a passenger, basically. You know? But there's no.
You would have been more comfortable driving, probably.
There's no. I mean, well, the thing is, there is no way that no comfortable way that you can sleep on a coach.
No.
There just isn't.
I've done it for 24 hours driving to Barcelona
I've
once.
just remembered that my ferry crossing back to England was in Storm Eunice as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
That's right,
Oh my
It
god!
was so funny. It was
Oh,
just
that topped it all up,
stuff,
didn't it?
stuff everywhere on that ferry. Like there was a till on the floor in the shop, and there was like the drinks cabinet. All the drinks were on the side. Brilliant.
Yeah, we had this little period of 3 storms back to back, didn't we?
Is it Dudley, Eunice, and
And
Fernley?
Fernley?
yeah,
I don't know.
Ferky or Fernie, something like that.
Frederick?
Flanders.
No, I'm out.
No. But yeah, so my wife and I, during the first storm, well, we didn't know there was going to be a storm, but we decided to go and spend a week in Wales. And that was based on our first trip to Wales, you know, and I remember calling my wife saying, like, this is so beautiful. We should definitely come back here for like a long weekend or, spend a little bit of time away from the kids, sort of thing. And so we had hired this little Airbnb thing, which was an old, like a listed building, was a water house on the top of a mountain in Wales, not too far from where we were. Absolutely stunning, beautiful. And of course, the day we arrived, the first storm hit. And then we literally spent 4 days sitting out this storm.
Wow.
And it was amazing, but we didn't get to see anything. We literally
Just
spent...
sort of rain in the inside of clouds.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious because this is the middle of a pine forest as well. And we just, where we were basically on a level with the tips of the pine trees. And so the vista was amazing. And actually just being in this house, which was really fantastic. The comfort in that place and the way it was kitted out was amazing. It was supposed to have high-speed internet, which it turned out it didn't because of the storm. They'd taken it out. But that's the only thing. Other than that, it was warm, it was comfortable. It had amazing skylights in the roof and stuff like that. It's incredible. And just to be there and to ride out the storm was fantastic, And yeah, we didn't see the area. We didn't manage to get out very much, but still we had a great time. It was awesome. And no internet. That's the one and only week that we ever missed an episode was because I was literally stuck without internet. And
Couldn't do it on your own.
We don't do that.
We didn't do that kind of thing. We double team. That's how we roll.
Dave said the same thing to us on his podcast the other day.
Yeah.
Did I? Doesn't sound like me.
Yeah. Not.
So we have come to the end of this week's episode. This was episode 97 of the Camera Shake podcast.
97.
97. Exactly. So be reminded, if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, then leave us a star rating, give us a little bit of a review. That would be super awesome. But if you want to, you can.
Super.
But if you want to see our lovely faces in full Technicolor and marvel at some of the amazing photos that Dave has shot,
Because they are marvelous.
they are very marvelous. Then head over to youtube.com/Camera Shake, where you can see us in full glory.
With a pink and blue background.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very pretty.
And you don't even notice the cats. They just blend in.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like cats, head over to YouTube. Anyway, so that is it. We've come to the end of episode 97. We'll see you again next Thursday. Happy days.
Okay, bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye.